any soft side comments during the last?
Well, this guy's
Like the last
He doesn't go.
was
He
my
doesn't go in
worst.
depth.
I was surprised
of his art.
myself.
Okay, you guys ready? Trust me, Tim. I believe you. It's art.
I like
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm
There's gonna be a lot of echoes with that running, and, if,
Let me close the door then.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam.
if a lot of you are talking, it's not gonna come out clear. So if one person's talking, speak up. They can't, it's not set on you. You know, it might get the tops of your heads, but that's about it. And it should be running. And it has most of the board in it. This is just something I want to document for me. Okay, it's you're part of it, but now. Just to frame the big picture. Starting to sound like an administrator. X, Y equals 1. 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, negative 1. X, Y equals 1.
Yeah.
0. 1. What's in front of the XY term? This is a 1.
Okay.
Oh.
0.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
Negative 1. Because it's 1 over there. Now, you know this as y equals 1 over x. And you know y equals 1 over x as a rational function where x can't be 0, y can't be 0, they're the asymptotes, and it looks like this. However, if you rotate the axes 45 degrees, or pi over 4 radians, that looks like a hyperbola rotated 45 degrees.
Yeah, it does.
And it is. Okay.
Why should you pile the pool?
Well, I just happen to know the symmetry of it.
45 degrees is pi.
I just happen to know that that's the angle of rotation.
Okay.
So, what we need to do is come, and this is going to be called phi. So what we need, and I probably should have different colored chalk. What we need to do is set up the equations of rotation. This is x, and this is y. And, you can't see red, can you?
Yeah.
I
Someone.
can see red, it just doesn't erase.
Yeah, well,
I like the orange, man. The red's like.
We can see a lot of things.
I see a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, I got brown.
Ooh, definitely.
No.
Yeah, use brown.
I like brown, never seen
Ooh,
brown.
ooh, ooh, yellow.
Yep.
Yellow.
I haven't
Oh,
seen
what
that.
did Asians say yes to yellow?
We have Asians in here?
No, we don't.
They're the British.
Yeah, we're
Oh, they're the British.
British people?
You have a little chocolate in your face.
That's okay.
That's a good color.
Now,
Good call.
these are the rotated axes. They're going to be called the prime axes. This is x prime, and this is y prime. The angle of rotation is going to be phi. Now, you can pick a point anywhere. And it's going to have two sets of coordinates because there's two coordinate systems there. Now, I'm going to make this, I'm going to call that R. So far so good? Now, and this is going to be theta. Okay, now, if this angle's theta here, not this whole angle, this angle. If I want to figure out how to get to point P on the xy axis, I'm gonna go over this distance and up this distance. But if I want to get to there on the prime axis, I have to go over this distance and up that distance.
So it has to be perpendicular to the.
Well, yeah, the x-coordinate is perpendicular, right? If you're traveling an x, you're going perpendicular to the y. Okay? Now, what do you know about the definition of cosine of an angle?
Adjacent over hypotenuse.
Adjacent over hypotenuse. And isn't this the hypotenuse times cosine theta equals the adjacent or whatever it is? Okay. So, if I call this phi and this theta, that angle there is a central angle, and that is theta plus phi?
Yes.
Phi.
Oh, yeah.
Phi, phi, or pho, but don't call it phone. I call it phi. Okay. So, isn't this the x-coordinate?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And isn't that our cosine of the angle?
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't this?
Yeah.
So, you're going to have x equals r cosine of the angle. Yeah, because this is r. And what is y? What's the y coordinate?
Sine.
What about sine?
R sine
R
theta.
sine over hypotenuse.
Okay. Now look at the yellow axes. Now look at the yellow axes. You already rotated, you're ignoring that. Isn't this x prime?
Yes.
So isn't x prime r cosine of the angle?
Yeah.
What's the angle?
Phi.
Phi plus theta. Oh, no.
Theta.
Theta.
Oh.
Uh-oh, I screwed up. This is the sum.
Yeah, that's the sum. of-
This one's the sum.
I'm confused.
Okay.
Me too. So
This whole angle, just look at this triangle. This triangle here, the central angle is the sum of those two.
Okay.
So the x-coordinate has to be r cosine the sum.
Okay, so theta
I
plus
just,
b.
yeah.
Okay. Theta plus b.
And this is r theta plus, y is r sine theta plus phi. Okay. X prime, you're only looking at this angle. You're not looking at that.
Theta.
So isn't the x prime coordinate r cosine theta? It's the same r, right?
Yeah.
And isn't y prime r sine theta?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to expand this using alpha and beta. Cosine alpha plus beta. Cosine, cosine, sine, sine, sine.
Yep.
R times cosine, cosine, sine, sine,
Sine, sine.
sine, sine. So far so good?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And let me bring this down. Y equals R sine theta. You're going to have trouble writing all this down, by the way. If I really don't mind if you don't write it down. It's really, really good stuff if you have it. But you're probably not going to need the derivation if you just watch. And then you can watch the video and copy it back down again.
Wait, is this a derivation? Oh, I see this
Yeah, we're getting there. So, isn't x equals r cosine theta cosine phi? I'm just distributing the r. Minus r sine theta sine phi. So far so good, that's the x coordinate.
Yeah.
Sine. Sine, cosine, cosine, sine.
Yep.
Alpha plus beta. Sine, cosine,
Cosine sine.
Plus.
same sign, cosine, sine. And that's all times r?
Yes.
So the y coordinate is, if I distribute the r sine theta cosine phi plus r cosine theta sine phi. Now, if we have a mistake here, we're dead, because we're going to spend a half hour filming this for no reason. Everybody okay with the alpha plus beta, sum and difference expansions for sine and cosine?
So do we have to do this for the derivation?
Well, I'm just setting up the derivation. I'm just setting up the equations
Okay.
of rotation. Question?
Making sure that that's just the same thing, except you just have phi. It's the same thing as the
Alpha and beta?
Yeah.
Yeah, except it's theta and phi.
Okay.
Okay. These are the x and y coordinate. So far, so good.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can I put in x prime for r cosine theta?
Yes.
So I can put x prime in for that. And what do you put in for r sine theta?
Why?
Y prime. Okay. So I know x equals
R cosine theta.
X.
X1.
x prime. X prime
Cosine
cosine phi minus,
Y prime sine phi.
and y equals
Y.
Y prime cosine phi minus.
Plus
Oh, plus. Yeah.
X prime sine phi.
okay.
Wait, why is it? Because R cosine.
Those are the equations of rotation. We probably will provide those for you.
Nice.
Probably.
Now,
Is it like x1?
it's just x prime. It's just different, it's a different coordinate system. Okay, now, here's the theory. I'm going to use these to substitute into ax squared plus bxy plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. What is that equation?
General form.
Of,
Conic.
could be degenerate, of,
A shape. A set of ordered pairs.
A solution set.
the solution set to that equation is going to be some kind of conic, rotated or not, or degenerate. But what is that equation? What is it called?
Armies and the sea.
Almost, there is a general. The general second degree equation in two variables.
Okay.
Hence, there are conic sections in there.
Okay.
Okay, so every place there's an x, we're going to put in a this. Every place there's a y, we're going to put in a.
That.
Okay, now here's what's going to happen at the end. At the end, we're going to have dot, dot, dot. A prime, x prime squared. Don't write x to the 12th.
How would you use that?
Plus 0 x prime y prime plus c prime y prime squared plus d prime x plus e prime y plus f or f prime, but it's a constant, equals 0. What are we trying to do?
Find the
Get to
other
the primes.
system. The other system.
What is it that makes the general one so hard?
The rotation.
The rotation term. And what is the rotation term?
BXY.
bxy.
We're eliminating it.
We're eliminating it. So the whole point is to make b prime 0. Do you know where we're going? I'll show you how to do it, but do you understand what we're trying to do?
Get rid of the.
It's like this. You may have 3x squared plus 4xy plus 7y squared equals 0. And then when you're done, it might look like x prime quantity squared over 4 minus y prime quantity squared over 9 equals 1.
Oh.
Okay.
and then you turn your head, and then you do all the conic stuff you know.
Hyperbola,
Yeah,
rotate it.
well, yeah, but you do it on the rotated coordinate system. What I'm trying to do right now is find the angle that eliminates that XY term. And there will be an angle for every one of them.
And then the angle is the rotation.
Yes.
Oh, why is
No,
it F
not
prime?
that one.
So then.
Because I think there's no variables in it, so it's not gonna change.
determines-
Wait, if you find the angle of rotation, then.
I'm gonna do
So
it.
the angle of rotation.
But I don't see how that eliminates a vehicle.
Cosine.
Because we're gonna force it.
Awesome.
We're gonna set B prime equal to 0 and force this out.
Okay.
Okay, so. Now this is, I don't know if I'd even call this fun. I don't mind doing it, I like doing it because I like the power of it. But you need to watch to make sure I don't screw up. Alright. A times, you gotta read me X.
X prime cosine phi.
Minus y prime sine phi.
Quantity squared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what? Oh, I get it, I get it.
I'm just putting it in for X.
Yeah, sorry.
Plus B X, X prime, you can read it right there. Cosine minus Y prime sine. What's Y?
Y cosine phi.
Cosine phi.
Y prime cosine phi
Plus x prime sine phi.
plus C Y
Oh, cosine. You can read it.
Plus X prime sine phi.
quantity squared
Yes.
plus dx x prime cosine minus y prime sine plus ey y prime cosine plus x prime sine plus f equals 0. Since you're not substituting for f, f prime is f.
I see.
Uh,
F doesn't change.
Yes.
Okay.
I see.
Because it's a constant. Okay, because you're only putting these in. I gotta erase this. Do you guys have these in your notes? You know what they are?
Yes, sir.
Do you want us to write that?
What'd you
like
call me?
that?
I don't care what you write. I'm just want you to just get the idea of what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are they called?
Those are called the equations of rotation. You guys have them?
Yes.
You need to use those in every problem.
Oh.
This derivation is to just find the particular phi that will eliminate the x prime y prime term. Okay. So we have some foiling to do now, don't we?
Yay.
Okay.
Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Not even try.
Back to.
Aw, Suzanne.
Square the first. X prime squared cosine squared.
Double the product.
Double the product.
Oh my.
Minus 2 x prime y
Yeah.
prime.
Yeah.
Cosine sine.
Oh.
Square the last.
Yeah.
Why?
Plus y prime squared sine squared.
Phi.
These are all phis. So far so good?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Oh.
just crazy.
You sound annoyed.
I'm going crazy.
It's so long.
Oh
Yeah.
man! Plus b times x prime y prime cosine squared. X prime y prime cosine squared.
It's like a song, yeah.
They cancel out.
We're here,
X
here.
squared.
X prime sine cosine. No. X prime squared cosine sine.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I get that.
Where are we? Minus y prime squared sine cosine. We good?
Yeah.
I already told you.
Last one. Minus x prime y prime minus x prime y prime
Sine squared phi.
sine squared phi. That's just b.
Wow.
Plus c. I'm squaring this. Y prime squared cosine squared. Plus Suzanne.
Finish
You
it off.
got it. You got
Finish
it.
it off.
Middle
I
term.
freeze under pressure.
Okay.
Okay.
2.
So no, tell her the
Double the product.
Double
Square
the product.
first, double the product,
Okay.
square the left.
So y
double
X.
the product.
x.
Oh my god.
Do you always put X first?
I always put x first and I always put cosine first if I can.
That was on camera.
Plus,
Not even directed.
anybody that sees that's not gonna know who Suzanne is, they can't even see you.
Don't say my last name.
Okay.
Brady?
Brady?
No.
Where are we?
The last one, x
prime
squared,
squared,
sine squared, v.
Plus
Plus D.
this, d x prime cosine, I'll distribute, minus d. What? Shh.
That's undesirable.
Okay, now, here's the deal. It always works.
It barely fit.
It always works.
I don't know why.
You have to choose the right font.
Also waits till like 2.
Yeah, so we know it's 0, so we might as well stop. Okay,
Great.
now, if we're going to this,
Math is so cool.
Why you
You said, I know it is, Suzanne.
It'd be cool if you could do it.
Be cool if you could condense it to one more.
Take a shot and every time
all we're doing, all we want to do, we don't want to memorize this, but we could. You can memorize all these equations, but you don't want to. What is the idea?
Eliminate b.
Eliminate b prime. You want to set b prime to 0, and b prime is the coefficient of what?
Rotation.
XY. Rotation term.
V.
X prime, Y prime.
X prime, y prime. So all we have to do is catch all the x prime, y primes and set that to 0, because that's the only point.
So
Okay, let's just, one more time.
Just gonna write it again.
So A, I'm going to distribute, that's all I'm going to do.
I can do that.
A, x prime squared cosine squared, minus 2a, x prime, y prime cosine sine. This is one that you want to deal with. This is where we're going. We don't care about this right now, I mean we can. Plus a times y prime squared sine squared, plus b x prime y prime cosine squared, plus b x prime squared cosine sine, minus b times y prime squared sine cosine, minus b, oh, another one, x prime y prime sine squared, plus c y prime squared cosine squared,
Just start writing small.
plus 2c x prime y prime cosine, I'm going to just erase it, it's not going to matter, sine, I'm trying to get you to understand why though, plus c x prime squared sine squared, plus, am I here?
Yeah.
it's
It's going to fit,
It just, you were just cutting.
dx prime cosine,
Where we make it?
minus dy prime sine,
Look how small it is.
plus ey prime cosine, plus ex prime sine, plus f equals 0.
Oh my god.
Now,
Have a hand.
now, if you want to know what a prime is going to be the coefficient of x prime squared.
So the first one.
But there's another x prime squared.
Oh my god.
There's another.
And another.
There's another word right there.
And next
Can't find it.
Okay, but we don't care.
we don't.
All we want to do is this.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have to find all the x prime, y primes. Is that one?
Yes.
Is that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Miss,
Right
Yes.
there.
What is that?
It's
2C. 2C X
Two
prime.
CS prime y prime.
Nice.
You tell him, Scott.
Is that it?
That's
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, that's.
So, if cosine alpha plus beta is cosine, cosine, sine, 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 what is cosine 2x? Cosine, cosine, sine, sine, sine.
That's
X
Times
plus
two.
two.
sine squared minus
Minus
cosine
x
squared.
squared.
Ah, I did it backwards.
Okay.
Thank you.
If sine alpha plus beta is sine, cosine, cosine, sine,
two
Sine cosine.
cosine.
2 sine x cosine x.
okay, we might need
So
those.
close.
Okay, so,
It works the other way. Cosine.
remember where we're going. I don't care, no, eventually. So I have, I'm gonna factor out the x prime, y prime. Is there an x prime, is there an x prime, y prime in all those?
Yeah.
All the other
Yeah,
one.
All the elements?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have negative 2a cosine sine
Ooh.
What?
times
Oh.
x prime, y prime.
Okay.
plus B
Cosine squared theta.
phi
That looks
Dang.
awful.
minus B times sine squared plus 2C
Cosine phi, sine phi.
He's factoring it out.
times
Nothing, sorry.
x prime y prime. Isn't that the coefficient of that term?
Yeah.
So that whole thing in front is B prime. So I would have said B prime equal to 0.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now clean it up. What do you notice?
Well, the
Alright,
first
the first one is sine
cosine
2x.
Okay, can I factor out a B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Cosine minus sine?
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, so if I factor out a B, I have cosine squared minus sine squared. And if I factor out a cosine sine, a 2 cosine sine, right? A 2 cosine sine. This is a plus. I have what times it?
A, negative A.
No, it's C.
2C minus 2A. Oh no, I'm sorry.
C minus A.
C minus A. Now, why am I setting this equal to 0?
To eliminate.
Because this is B prime.
Yes.
So I set this equal to 0 because that's B prime.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now you have your double angle identities.
Oh, no.
Cosine double angle is 2 sine cosine. So isn't this,
Yes.
what, this whole thing is what?
Sine 2.
Sine 2x.
Sine 2 phi.
Sine 2 phi.
Well.
C minus A times sine 2 phi plus
B
times
cosine 2
Cosine
B.
Not,
Equals
no C,
0.
It's just B.
I've been saying this.
Okay, so now I can bring this one over here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have B times cosine 2 phi equals, what's the opposite of C minus A?
A minus C.
A minus C.
A minus C times sine 2 phi.
Wow.
Divide by this,
Sure.
Not 2 feet.
B over A minus C equal,
Equals
Cosine 2
tangent.
phi.
2x.
Cosine 2.
Tangent
over
2 phi.
Oh
Oh
my.
Duh.
Oh.
Stop it.
Oh.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get out.
You got us.
okay, that B over A minus C equals tangent double angle. For example, now, we're gonna erase the board.
You need some help with that.
Wait, is that 2?
Start writing on that one.
What?
Little.
Little, is it little 2? Like exponent?
So,
Yes, where's big?
It's a double angle. Why?
that's
Because
okay.
these are double angles. Divide by cosine. Now, so to do a problem, you need that. What does that do?
Cancels out the B.
Cancels out B prime.
Yeah.
And then I need the equation. X equals X prime cosine minus Y prime sine. Is that right?
Yes.
Sure?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Is that what we derived at the beginning?
It is.
And Y equals
Y prime cosine
phi plus x prime sine phi.
okay.
More like
He's gonna watch.
This is all you need.
Yes.
For example,
For example.
now you could have collected all your X prime squareds and found what A prime was, and you could have memorized what A prime was, C prime, but you don't care. Because if you have the equations of rotation and you put in the right angle,
You'll get out.
a miracle should happen.
Nice.
Okay. For example, xy minus 1 equals 0. Let's go back to y equals 1 over x. You already know what it looks like. Okay. What is the value of a?
Value of A is 0.
0.
Oh, 0.
So you have to find the angle. Tangent of the double angle of rotation equals
Okay.
b
B over
1 over a minus c.
0 minus
Zero?
0.
Okay. So where is tangent undefined?
everywhere.
Everywhere.
No, where is
equals
tangent
0 and
undefined?
C.
No,
A equals 0.
When
When x squared and y squared equals 0.
The bottom
Is tangent y over x?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, cosines.
What's this coordinate right here?
That is.
Why?
0, 1. Undefined.
90.
Pi
On a
over
unit
2.
circle?
Pi over
Pi
2.
over
1.
2.
0, 1. Is that coordinate 0, 1?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
What is tangent there?
Undefined.
Undefined. So,
Wait, what,
That- A?
Yeah.
A is the beginning of the
A is 0x squared plus 1xy plus 0y squared.